So today we're going to be doing a really fun one. This is a classic, the movie The Outsiders,
Mm-hmm.
which is wonderful. Just like an insane amount of like all stars packed into the
Yeah.
like sardines. Just a lot of them. In their younger, kind of before maybe they exploded or right at the beginning of when
Mm-hmm.
they exploded in their celebrity. But this was in 1983. Is that right? When it was released?
Yep,
I know
1983. Yep.
1983. Okay. The book was written I believe in the 60s, like the late 60s or early 70s, by S.E. Hinton. Um
Mm-hmm.
it's based on the book. And we were just talking about how S.E. Hinton, I'm sure everybody knows this now, but she I mean is, I believe she's still alive, was a 16-year-old girl when she wrote
Yeah.
this. And nobody knew, like she kind of disguised her initials because it was, back in the 60s or early 70s when
Mm-hmm.
people maybe didn't take women as seriously, or in the writing world. So all this interesting stuff. But anyways, the movie is has always been one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, chock full of some handsome men, right? We got some. I know that's not the only part that's great about it, but like, I mean, we got some Rob Lowe. We got, my favorite was Matt Dillon at the time.
Yeah.
I loved him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, we got Emilio
Yep.
Estevez, Tom Cruise, Patrick Swayze. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh.
Yeah. C.
Like
Tom C.
we
Thomas Howell, Ralph Macchio.
Yes. Jeez. And that was, yeah, just all those, you know, I'm gonna say cuties for the other ones because the other ones were younger, but the ones who were 18 and over, very handsome, handsome, handsome. Because I just feel
But
strange saying that, but
well, it's also
but
like when we probably originally watched it, they were still young.
oh
So it's
yeah,
like
yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think or they were definitely like way beyond the age where I was like, okay, or maybe we were that age. I don't know, but um yeah, so this is a great movie because not only the all-star cast, which I'm drooling over, but the the different themes that we see in this movie between the greasers, which is kind of the group of quote unquote delinquents, the kind of lower socioeconomic status,
Mhm.
people who maybe don't have as much, they're the have-nots, and the socias, their parents are probably influential, positions. They're
Yeah.
the quote unquote like cream of the crop kind of
Mhm.
people.
Yeah, and it
But
seems like they all, which is something I noticed either Johnny or someone said too, like they all seem to have Mustangs. They all drive the Mustangs, which is
yeah, that's true. Yeah, which is like such a symbol of like, I've got money and
Mhm.
prestige kind of. Yeah. Yeah, and so the movie is, we meet the three brothers, Daryl or Derry, Patrick Swayze, who's very overprotective of Ponyboy, was the youngest, who was very like sensitive, sweet, lost, kind of trying to find himself, doesn't know his way because even though he's very, loyal to the group that he's in the greasers, he kind of doesn't really align with some of the toughness that's
Mhm.
needed. Um
both him and his best friend Johnny are just really sweet compared to
yeah.
everyone else who tries to have almost like a thug type of thing. They try to be really tough.
Yeah, they need to kind of have that exterior to be in that group. And then we got the middle brother, the adorable Rob Lowe, Soda
Mhm.
Pop. And I do want to ask, where did Soda Pop and Ponyboy, where the heck did those names come from?
I don't know because Ponyboy says when he first meets Cherry that that's their real names. It's even on their birth certificates. So
Yeah,
their parents must have been very interesting people.
I guess
Just
so.
Daryl, they said, okay, we'll have a normal name for our first son, and then we'll name him Ponyboy and Soda Pop.
Let's just go for something mainstream and then two just wild out there savage names
Yeah,
of just
yeah.
whatever.
But they fit
Ponyboy,
though. You know.
Soda Pop. It really does, yeah, because I mean, yeah, Ponyboy is very kind of, I don't know, soulful and sweet, and Soda Pop is kind of curious and kind of light and fun and
Yeah,
whimsical, sort of.
he's very positive too, and just
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah, so maybe they were just going based off their natures. Maybe they knew. I don't know. But
Mhm.
I know here I go over analyzing stuff that
Yeah.
doesn't really make any sense. But yeah, so we meet the brothers. We realize they don't have parents, so Derry or Daryl has taken over as the role. He's kind of tough on Ponyboy. He's very like overly protective. Um, there's kind of that dynamic going on. Um, and then we first meet the Socs at when they go to like a movie, like the greasers kind of they kind of all our meeting point. We got Two-Bit, Emilio Estevez. Oh, we forgot about him. Two-Bit. Um, Steve, which is like Soda Pop's best friend, which is Tom Cruise.
Mhm.
We got all these people just coming in and they kind of just, they hang out. They all look out for each other. They all
Mhm.
kind of have this tough exterior. They all kind of come from what may be labeled as like broken homes, with things are tough, maybe blue collar,
Mhm.
kind of lower socioeconomic homes. Johnny himself is very much abused and neglected, and it
Yeah.
seems like this group of friends really looks out for him.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and they decide to go to what was it, the drive-in movie or something,
Mhm.
and there's a pack of Socs there. And then, Ponyboy and Johnny kind of more Ponyboy because Johnny's a little shy, starts talking to Cherry Valance, Diane Lane, who I think is just amazingly gorgeous. That's the first time I ever saw her in any movie, but I was just like, wow, these people are very pretty all in
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. I read something recently about her, how she said like how it was so interesting being like one of the only women
mm,
on with all this whole male cast, and
I
just
bet.
how
Yeah,
it was
that
kind
must
of
have been kind of
the whole
crazy.
dynamic. Yeah, whole dynamics and everything with them
Yeah,
all.
because I know that the director Francis Ford Coppola, yeah, he wanted them to kind of be like to kind of have like that brotherhood, and they would kind of like mess around off camera, so they kind of would have that chemistry, and they totally did on
Mhm.
screen. Yeah, so it was really really nice.
Yeah,
Um,
and they seem like I mean, who knows if they really were friends in real life, but they seemed like they liked each other, and like we were saying, like at least Patrick Swayze and C. Thomas Howell were probably close because they did a few movies with each other afterwards.
mhm. Yeah,
And
you discovered that with I didn't realize that. Yeah,
but who
yeah.
knows, like, I'm sure Rob Lowe and Emilio Estevez were too, because I think they were part of that Brat Pack,
Yep,
you know.
yep. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah. There were definitely a lot of ties in there. I did see an interview, and maybe it was with Francis Ford Coppola that they were all kind of like together, but Tom Cruise was a little bit apart. Like not like he wasn't like he was totally on the outside, but he was a little more serious in like his acting.
Mhm.
And I mean, I don't know if maybe he just kind of was really like, that's just his process. I guess that was kind
Right.
of just the way it was. But he was a little bit of like not quite in like acting out as like, kind of within the
Yeah.
like playfulness all the time.
Yeah.
But not that he wasn't,
Yeah.
within it because
Well,
it was still really good chemistry.
I actually heard that about Ralph Macchio too. I read that he was very serious. I don't know if he was into method acting or something, but I heard he wasn't as goofy as
Oh.
everyone else was too.
And he was also a little bit younger than the rest of them too, right? So maybe he was
No,
kind of like,
well,
ooh, like trying to do
C.
this.
Thomas Howell was the youngest in real life too. I think he was 15 when they started filming.
Oh, okay. So he was the youngest. Okay, okay. Yeah, because Ralph Macchio he kind of always
He-
looked young when he was.
Just for little um little thing. I just looked up Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe is 61 right now, and Ralph Macchio is 63. But in the movie, I think it's because Ralph Macchio always looks so young. He
He did, yeah.
and he's in all the movies like Karate Kid and everything. He always looks so young. So Rob Lowe was probably playing. We were talking earlier that Rob Lowe and Tom Cruise, like their characters, like Soda Pop and Steve, we think they were probably like supposed to be like 18 or so. And and I know Johnny said he was 16 in the movie. The Ralph Macchio character.
Oh, he was 16. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't
because
know why I thought.
I remember them telling Cherry at the drive-in. She was asking how old they were, and Ponyboy said, "I'm 14," and then Johnny said, "I'm 16."
I always mix that up, yeah, because Ralph Macchio does just look so, yeah, he looks younger. I always think he's younger. And because of his like kind of shyer nature in the movie,
Yeah,
like his like sweetness, he kind of seems.
yeah.
But yeah, so we this movie is just, it's so important. It's just so crazy to me that a girl in that is 16 wrote about this, but she probably would have a really great eye on this.
Yeah.
That there was such a divide in social classes and how people were treated, what people were looked at, when really there was a lot of trauma and a lot of um, you know, broken families that
Mhm.
these greasers were coming from. I mean, the three brothers didn't have parents. Their parents had died, and they were
Right.
like keeping up
Yeah.
paying bills, and Derry
Yeah.
had to like quit school. He had like he might have had like a scholarship for football, and he had to like take care
Mhm.
of his brothers and work, and
Yeah. And be
um
the
you
father,
know
act like the father, and just
yeah.
it's hard. It's hard to be put in this role because he's also always probably worried. Like I don't want my brothers to be taken away. Like so. There's probably was always that fear until one turns 18, and so yeah, he's always worried. Like, oh, I don't want Ponyboy to go to a home.
Yeah. Yeah, which is just so like such a part of not only just for the brothers, but within like the greasers code is like we would look out for each other. Like
Yeah.
it's very, very present. Like they're a very close family. Like they may not have much, but they have each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the socias, they support each other, but they're more kind of for themselves. They don't have that kind of code. They don't have that like, kind of like, oh, we're all in the same like kind of rough circumstances, so we need help, we need support, which you can kind of see that in some communities, now, you know what I mean? Like where
Yeah.
there's a lot of togetherness because people are helping out. They're all in a common struggle, and they
Yeah.
can see that, and having a strong community is very, very vital.
Yeah. And
Um,
that's also why, like, a lot of times when you're a kid or a teenager too, like attracts like too. So you're going
mm,
to be drawn to, maybe not by on purpose, but maybe more kids that you hang out with or families might be in the same situation, might be divorced, or might have parents that might use substances, or might be in the same socio-economical situation. It's not always planned, but it is like, oh, we have more things in common.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's it really is. It's so interesting just to see that play out in the movie. And when they meet up at the drive-in, some of the greasers, Two-Bit kind of hits on Two-Bit Emilio Estevez, who's kind of goofy and kind of just a goof off. He likes his Mickey Mouse and beer and cake and stuff.
Yeah. He just really, like, you almost
Yeah.
wonder, like, what is wrong with him? Like, like, is he developmentally disabled or something? But no, he's just like emotionally immature. They're just kids. Like, he's probably just only like 17 or something.
Right.
And he's,
Yeah. Yeah. He probably hasn't had much growing up, and so this is kind of, this is like a happy thing for him, just cartoons and also beer, and some
yeah,
cake. Um, but yeah, and so he hits on the wrong Sosha's like girlfriend. He doesn't, realize that she's with him, I don't think.
right.
And they take that as a huge offense. It starts up this fight. But before that, we see Ponyboy talking to Cherry Valance, Diane Lane, and they have
Mhm.
this cute connection. They're very much like on
Yeah,
the same level, and they talk about like, books and art, and they really have a lot to connect with, but they're worlds apart in their
Yeah.
social standings. And Cherry even says something like, "Hey, if I see you at school, don't take offense if I don't say hi," kind of thing, like kind of preparing to be like, that's just kind of how it is. We don't like associate with you guys.
Yeah.
Um, it's so
Which
sad
he
because they
knew,
have so much in
which
common.
which he kind of, you could tell he's kind of offended, but then he realized like, okay, this is why. It is sad, that I can't risk my social standing for communicating with you. And
Yeah. It's kind of like Cherry comes from this world where those are the people that she has. And it sounds like, it makes her sad. She doesn't want that. And she kind of says some things at certain points, like, I don't really want this either, but she feels kind of stuck in it, right?
Mhm.
Like this is just kind of how everybody has problems too. It's not just, you guys, like, you know, um, and Dally, or I know they call him Dally, but Dallas, Matt Dillon, in that movie, I just love him. But he's a, from the book, he's been to, had a lot of experience on the streets. He was in New York. So
Yeah.
he's kind of seen a lot. He's been in a lot, he's kind
Yeah.
of the leader of that kind of area, greaser, kind of place. And he knows wise person, even though he's
Yeah.
maybe doesn't make the wisest choices.
Yeah. He seems to be like the, not the leader, but he seems to be the toughest one. The one who actually has like, hey, he has the rap sheet. He's
Mm,
done all these, things that have caused him to be arrested, or maybe he's killed people in the past, so there's all of that. So he knows like, okay, when you get in trouble, this is what you do. This is where you go to hide out. This is until it's died down. The kids knew when this happens, we need to go to him. We can't go to my brother.
yeah,
It's just,
because he would, he would flip his lid, kind of thing.
yeah.
And he definitely has a soft spot, especially for Johnny. But Johnny and Ponyboy, like, he's very protective of them. But he also is like, you got to teach them to survive too, like
Hmm.
in this world, and like kind of have a hard shell. Um, because he had to do that, and he
Yeah.
knows the way it is, and he doesn't want to see that happen to them. Um, at the drive-in movie theater, everything, there's like a fight that breaks out with the Socias. I can't remember the one with the curly
The
hair.
curly hair. Yeah, I can't remember his name either.
Garrett, or something, like in real life, like Leaf Garrett or something. I don't know.
Oh,
Is it Bob?
so yeah, it was Bob.
Okay, Bob. Yeah, he kind of looks like a Bob. He just, I always kind of found him not attractive. I don't know how
No,
to.
he's kind of goofy looking, and it is, you do kind of question like, how is this guy the leader of these dingbats? I think it's probably because he has the nice car and he probably has the money.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's interesting, right? Like, who's the leader of each group is determined by such different things. Like, one is like money
Yeah,
and like prestige, and the other one is kind of like
yeah,
who's actually had the experience and knows the wherewithal, or has the wherewithal to like protect you and like
right,
keep you safe, and that
right.
experience. That's kind of interesting. Um but yeah, they get into a fight, and they, you know, that riles up the Socias because they're just like, oh, hitting on our women. Um and then later the Socias are still like, drunken up and mad and looking for trouble, and they're, Johnny
Right.
and Ponyboy are out at the park because of, they kind of like were running away sort of
Yeah.
thing.
When Ponyboy gets hit, he like leaves his house, he runs, and Johnny's already laying there because they had fallen asleep together in the park or wherever they were in the field. And then he just wakes up Johnny and he's like, "We're running away." And Johnny doesn't even think twice about it. Johnny's just like, "Okay, get up." And then they just start running and they go to the park. And I just love that their friendship is just so pure and they just care so much about each other that Johnny doesn't even question, because he's already just like, you know what, I can't stand my family. I don't like him. I don't feel safe. But I know I feel safe with my best friend. And I'll
Yeah.
do whatever he wants.
There's like that feeling of this group is looking out for each other. Like even if their families are broken, they had to form like a family of their own to feel safe and really
Hmm.
look out for them, which is really a strength and a resilience for them that the
Yeah,
socials don't quite have.
right.
Um, yeah, and I mean you see, and then, of course there's the I hate that scene at the park where they attack Johnny and Ponyboy. They try to drown Ponyboy, and then poor Johnny has to kill one of the Socs and he's just like, I had to, and he's just traumatized and
Yeah.
terrible.
Hmm.
Um, that scene always got me. Yeah, I didn't, I don't like that, but it just kind of shows like, and it really was truly self-defense, but they
Yeah.
know that if they're caught, that they're going to be looked at as delinquents and Johnny's going to face jail time, right?
Yeah, they're gonna believe the people whose parents have nice jobs and,
Mm-hmm.
just probably donate to different political things or whatever. They're gonna
To the
believe those
police
people.
department, yeah.
Yeah. Than,
Yeah,
than the people who are always getting arrested or, whose parents might not have jobs.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I It shows such a disparity of just kind of the
Hmm.
experiences of these things that are, it gives like a behind the scenes look at what it was like in the 60s. And of course we can, still see that, in many different ways, but just it was so
Hmm.
unique to me, like to kind of see that in that setting. When I remember I first started watching this and hearing words like rumble and greasers and socials, I didn't know what the heck
Yeah.
it was. I was like,
Yeah.
that's so weird, like it was just this whole like lingo
Hmm.
for setting that up. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so then Johnny and Ponyboy go to Dallas, like we
Hmm.
were talking about. He's the one to know, like, what do we do? We just killed a Soc, and he's like, all right, good for you, get in. Doesn't blink. Um and then he like you said, he takes them in and he is like, hey, are you guys wet? Hey, do this. He kind of is like very paternal towards them
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
gives them
Put on this
advice.
sweatshirt. You're gonna get sick, and let me take
Yeah.
care of you.
Yeah, it's very. And then he tells them where to go to like hang out, and he's like, and then we'll
Hmm.
I'll be up there in a week, this abandoned church and everything,
Right.
and um, so yeah, and I mean, it really is that protectiveness and that you really see it in there, and it's so sad to see all the things that are against the greasers just because they don't have money and social
Hmm.
standing. And
Right.
Um, and a big plug for mental health, it just was not really a thing to see that like Johnny is being abused and neglected. Like the three brothers do not have parents. Who knows what the heck is going on at Two-Bit's house? Like
Yeah.
who knows what's
Yeah.
going on at Steve's house?
Yeah. Well, it seems like Two Bit probably never eats. Probably relies on, the Curtis brothers for his food. It seems
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, that's why he's always scarfing down cake and beer. And yeah, he just wants something, cozy like Mickey Mouse, his favorite.
Yeah.
But that is really funny, yeah. Um Yeah, and so, then Johnny and Ponyboy go up to the church and this abandoned church, which is like dilapidated. It's out in the middle of nowhere where
Yeah.
Dallas
Some
told them to
country.
go.
Yes. Somewhere in the country. What, I don't even know what state they're in.
I don't
It's,
Yeah, I don't either. Is it
I was trying to figure that out. I'm like, are they in, like, I don't know. I was wondering if they're in, like,
I think
Pennsylvania, New
this is
York,
set in Oklahoma. I think that's what
Oklahoma.
it
So maybe it is Oklahoma. I can't remember.
For some
Yeah.
reason I'm thinking Oklahoma. Don't quote me on that, but don't yell people if I'm wrong. I think that's what it is. For some reason I
Yeah.
think that's what it is.
Okay.
But yeah, so when they're up at the church, because I remember thinking when they went up to the church, I was like, what the heck are they gonna do? Like, what the
Yeah.
heck is the plan here? Like, what were your
Yeah.
what were your thoughts when that happened?
Well, it seemed at first you're like, okay, we forgot that part. I was like, okay, are they gonna clean it up and make it like homey? But I was thinking like they're gonna like dust off, find somewhere, but they just kind of just sleep on the floor and the stove isn't going to work. It's just, but I like how Johnny took control and is like, well, I went out, I went and got us some peanut butter and bologna and, bread just to survive for the 4 days that we were told, because they were told like just hang out for at least like 4 days or something. But yeah, I guess they didn't really take into account either because it sounded like they ran out of food right away or soon because they were trying to eat a bunny and, trying to catch the bunny. So
Yeah.
they ran out of food and everything. But I don't know. I don't think they really, again, they're just young kids, scared, not really sure what is happening, but they're relying, like relying on Daryl or, whatever, just to, you know, lead them. So they, like it's just really Dallas, not Daryl. I don't think they really had any major plans on what they were going to do. I think it was just kind of, okay, we're told what to do. We're scared. We don't want to get arrested. Let's just hang out here.
Let's just survive. Yeah, and you're right.
Yeah.
They were only 14 and 16. So yeah, I don't know what the heck I'm thinking they would think about planning. And it's not like they planned to kill, someone. So
No.
yeah, they must have been really, really scared. It's funny because Johnny actually seemed to kind of like that time up there. Like he felt like he could kind of be free from like the
Yeah.
constraints of everything. And,
Yeah.
maybe Ponyboy kind of did too, and kind of was, one morning he gets up and he looks at the sunrise and he
Yeah.
he does the Nothing Gold Can Stay by Robert Frost poem, and he's just very, very soulful and feels
Yeah.
that. And I love how you know Johnny's like, Where'd you get that from? That's what I meant," and he's like, "Oh, it's just a poem," and he's like, "I think it's just about innocence is broken very easily, and it's just gone just like that, and it's
Mhm.
it's it's hard. It's a part of nature, and it's a part of their lives in the lives that they live."
Yeah.
And it's just so touching. I just remember loving that poem and just the way he expressed that. I loved that. I like committed that to memory in my teenage brain. That was
Yeah.
what I was remembering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also like talking about that period too is, what I also liked when Johnny went shopping and he went and he brought the Gone with the Wind book and
Right.
Ponyboy said like, "Oh, I've always wanted this." And Johnny's like, "I know. I thought you could read it to us." So that's another really sweet moment and just like so it tells you so much about their friendship too that they would just he would just sit and read to him. And they
Yeah.
were so present where there's, like it's almost like they had this chance of like mindfulness too, like of like we're just being here. Yeah, we're scared, we're hiding out, but we're going to make the most of it. We're going to read to each other. We're going to look at the sunset or the sunrise and just kind of just hang out and wait until we have to, like do the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah, if it weren't like they were wanted by the police or Johnny wasn't, it could have been a nice little mental health retreat, right?
Because it seems like in their day-to-day life, it's always very chaotic. Like
Mhm.
Johnny's living with, it sounds like his parents are alcoholics and they're always yelling and they're abusing him and fighting with each other. And Ponyboy and Soda Pop, and Daryl are just trying to survive. They're just
Yeah.
trying to, okay, well, now we have this new parental brother figure and we're trying to just be a unit and figure that out. And so it's always very chaotic. So at the church, even though it was run down, boarded up windows, they're hiding out, they don't want anyone to know they're there. It was probably very peaceful for the two of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they didn't have to be kind of surrounded by all that stuff and all the pressures of like, who they were looked at as like kind of some of those societal roles are just stripped, there. They don't
Yeah.
have to do that. They can just be like, friends and just do some nice things. Look at the sun, read, talk to each other. And yeah, it's and it's kind of sad when you think about that because their lives, are so hectic, and look what like, they're such good kids, you know? I know
Yeah.
Johnny had to, he was in self-defense, killed someone, but they're really, really sweet and really caring, and it just shows, like, how out of place they are for where they've been placed in society's views.
Mhm.
It's just, even some of the other characters that are, greasers, how they also have been, and they maybe had to harden and kind of mold into that to survive.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, and then we get another terrible part where the church burns down for some reason, and you brought up a good point, Erin, that we don't know why kids were
Yeah.
going to an abandoned church for.
It is kind of like questioning, like, why was the big school bus there? Why there's so many questions. So the fire probably started, why didn't they get everybody before it became like full blown? Why were they having a field trip at this church? Because once they went in there, you know they probably saw like, oh wait a minute, looks like some homeless people are living here. Like what is happening? There's boarded windows. It seems like the worst spot to take kids, and then
Yeah.
then it, then it burns down, and it's just yeah, field trip ended. It's just
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe they thought maybe it's the 1960s of it all. I don't know, that they thought dilapidated places and places that were, I don't know,
yeah,
ruins, like they could go and look at and learn something
yeah,
from. Who knows? But
maybe yeah, it's just kind of yeah. Then it's interesting too because Dallas when he's like, oh, the stakes. You could tell he wants to drive off. He's just like, all right, well, they're burning. It's burning. We got to go. We don't want anyone to see what we're doing. But then Ponyboy runs out and starts walking and tries to rescue kids, and Johnny does the same. They're just like their instinct is just instantly to help.
yeah, yeah, which again goes against that whole delinquent, just, terrible people that they're given that label and where they live, and but they like literally risk their lives. And Johnny gets hurt. He gets hit by like a burning beam that falls on him and gets trapped under the fire. And he's really, really hurt, really bad. And um yeah, and then it's kind of a point where they all rally because, Ponyboy, when Johnny goes to the hospital, Ponyboy goes back to his family. I guess the police are willing to kind of forgive the murder or something because of
Yeah,
him saving kids or something. There's some talk of that. And
yeah.
um
Yeah, because now they're
yeah,
in the newspaper for good. Like it's like
yeah.
even the teacher when they're at the burning church is like, you guys are heroes. Ponyboy and Dallas had never heard anyone say that about them.
Mm, yeah, they were never looked at in that way, especially not in the public eye. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then they gear up for the final rumble. There's like this big rumble set between the Socias and the greasers, and they're like, we got to fight this for Johnny. Dallas is kind of unhinged because he's upset about Johnny being hurt, right?
Yeah.
And then we have that final brawl where they're like, okay, who is I don't know, the winner of the
The
stuff,
town, I don't know.
the
Yeah, it's so
town,
dumb.
yeah, the
Yeah, I
victor.
don't know.
It's just a constant battle that's ongoing, but let's do this, and um yeah, and Derry is very protective of Ponyboy. He's like, stay by me, blah blah blah. And he's like, I'll take a little
Mhm.
guy, blah blah blah. And
Right.
but they end up, the greasers end up being the victors. They win, and
Mhm.
they're all so happy. They go to tell Johnny, Dallas, and Ponyboy, and Ponyboy's like, it just doesn't matter. He's just like, this just whole thing just doesn't, basically saying
Yeah.
like, these are just divides. It just doesn't matter. And then he tells Ponyboy, he says, stay gold, which was part of the Nothing Gold
Yeah.
Can Stay poem. And then he dies. Oh, poor little Johnny.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's really
And so
sad. It
it's,
is sad. And yeah, it's just kind of that's the catalyst too for Dallas. completely unhinged then, just because he takes a lot of responsibility for everything. I think he feels like it's his fault that this happened to Johnny.
Yeah, he looks after him like as a paternal figure, and he also sees him as like an innocent, like I
Yeah,
needed to protect the innocent and I failed at that, and
yeah,
so it's also like the innocence of, their family, right?
yeah,
And saying like you're only as good as, kind of the weakest member or the member who is, kind of the softest sort of. And
yeah,
so I think
yeah,
that really hit hard with him. Um but yeah, and he just goes robbing stores. He's trying to like basically get himself killed. He's just going nuts. Um, yeah, and then we see another part. I can't handle this part either. Is he's just so grieving. He's so out of his mind. He's just like Johnny, Johnny, and then he calls Derry on the payphone and is like, Rob, I was knocking off some people. I got shot, or whatever. I'm in trouble. They all go race to save him. Oh, he's in trouble. Let's go get him. But the cops are there first, and they're like, "Drop your weapon," and he doesn't. They're like, "He's a kid. He's a kid," and it's so sad because it's like he is a
yeah.
kid.
Yeah, and who was
You
yelling
know,
that? Were the cops yelling it or were the kids yelling it? Like that he's a kid? Because
the kids were
yeah,
yelling it. It was because he kept holding like the gun, and that's all they could see in the silhouette. And I mean, they probably, they had to make sure they were safe, but they were trying to be like, "Oh my God, no!" Like you don't know he's like going.
and the gun wasn't even in full. Like it was just like either pretend or empty. Because like when he went to go rob the convenience store, like there was nothing in it. It was just an
Yeah,
empty. Yeah, it's
there was
just
no real threat. Yeah.
yeah.
But they didn't know that. That's so symbolic of him.
But I think that's what he wanted, though. I think he wanted to punish himself, and he wanted to, die. But he probably really didn't want to. But he just thought that this is the way to punish myself for what happened to Johnny. And it's so sad too when Ponyboy opens the Gone with the Wind book because they brought a book to Johnny because that's because Ponyboy thought he would read to him, but Johnny had the nurse write a really nice letter basically saying, I'm okay. Make sure Dallas knows it's okay. But it was
Mm,
it was too late to tell Dallas. And even when Johnny's knowing, he probably knew he was dying. And, he's still thinking of Ponyboy's future, be a writer, do this, you're so great. And I understand now what the poem means. And, let, let Dallas know too that it's okay.
yeah. Yeah, and he says like those little kids' lives are worth more than mine. Like he sees
Yeah.
like he's just a very, self-sacrificing person despite he's not hardened. He's very, very, very sensitive to the world, even in his last breath. Like he's
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah. It was
through
worth
and
it.
through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so sad, but it really is just a great movie. It just points out so much with
Yeah.
not just even mental health, but all the factors that really
Yeah.
can affect mental
Yeah.
health and just your well-being
Mhm.
overall. And
Yeah, and I hope that people are still reading this book because it's so hard to believe that this is a book that is one that is always like on the banned list too.
Mhm.
It's so it's just such a good book. I know there's violence and everything, but it's it explains, like it's so deep about friendship and the different groups and how we treat people that we don't know or look different than us or act different than us or may have more money or less money or we don't know what's happening at everyone's home. In this book, this movie, it kind of helps us understand that too. And
Yeah,
I think it's important. I think it's an important book for people to still read. And the movie
yeah.
is it's such a great movie and I've seen it so many times and I've read the books quite a few times and it's just one of those and again it was written by like a 16-year-old girl and who got it, who understood
Mhm.
how can I share this message of like we're all going through it. Like Cherry said, like we're all going through something.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can see those connection points with between like, Ponyboy and Cherry and even, I think Bob or one of the leaders, like when he's talking about, he's like, I don't want this. I hate this. I don't want
Yeah,
this to continue on. Like it's
yeah,
very much like there's almost a feeling of like this is what society expects from us, and
yeah,
it's very symbolic and being played out like this, and it kind of just continues into our adult lives, and this is how it
yeah,
keeps going, and
yeah.
this is how
It's
it affects people, and you know,
and you don't know too, like it might have been happening for generations. Like maybe it wasn't always called greasers and socials, but even before that, it was probably like, the haves and the have nots. So they were probably always looked at, their families were probably looked at a little different from each other too.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it definitely is something that it really is like it's a microcosm. It's a sign of what society was going through, and through the eyes of these young kids. And it
Yeah.
really, I think, like you said, it is very important because you really sympathize with these characters. You really can relate to
Mhm.
them, in some way. Um, and see their struggles and see them as just, you know, they're victims of their own circumstances,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
not necessarily just that they're just bad people. It's just, that's just such a characterization that's so
Yeah.
ignorant. And
Yeah. They're trying to survive. And just, like in real life, people who are born in different, what neighborhoods they are living in, it's, so, sometimes people do make bad choices because that's unfortunately what they have. And that doesn't always mean that they're bad people.
right.
But but again, I love this movie and I love the book. I think it's,
Yeah, me too. It really shouldn't be on a ban list in my opinion at all. I
no,
think there's
me
a
neither.
lot to learn from it. Um, But yeah, so that's The Outsiders. If you haven't
Yeah.
seen that, you need to see it, or if you haven't seen it in a
Yeah.
while, go watch it again or read it again
Yeah.
or whatever, or
Yeah.
both, because it's
And
amazing.
also something else. I really don't think Rob Lowe has aged at all.
Yes, that's absolutely true. He is a vampire. He's got to be. He's just, I don't know. He struck a deal with the devil because he
Yeah.
really is amazing, amazing looking
Yeah,
now.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, for 61 or whatever he is. I mean, I watch him on the floor, and we've talked about his other movie um that he was on, and I just love him too. He doesn't look that much different from that movie.
He doesn't. He just, man, he just has such a good nature, a good kind of vibe about him. I don't know. He's just great. He's great all around. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's adorable.
Hmm.
Which leads me to my challenge question.
Okay.
So, two things. To choose from all of those characters, the characters, right? But in an age appropriate way,
Okay. Okay.
right?
It's not creepy. Okay.
Yes, like in a way where we're saying,
They're older than all of us. But
yeah, yeah. They definitely
but
are older than all of us, yeah, so
yeah. Okay. Okay.
um,
Okay.
but just in their characters, if you were to choose just based on their characters in the
Hmm.
movie, one of the gentlemen, to date and one to be, like, a good friend, who would you choose?
Okay. Well, that's super easy for me. Soda Pop to date. Because he's just really cute and funny and nice, and not even that it's just Rob Lowe, but I mean, I just love Soda Pop's character, and I've always loved him. And then Ponyboy, I would just love Ponyboy to be my best friend. He's just
Mhm.
so sweet and so kind and just such a loyal friend. I mean, Johnny is the most loyal too, but Ponyboy, he just seems like he helps people feel a little calmer. And Soda Pop is just silly and goofy with his best friend with his messed up teeth, you know. But yeah,
Early Tom Cruise era. Yeah.
yeah, Tom Cruise. But I did read that Tom Cruise took his, I guess he had a cap on because he messed up his teeth from like hockey or something like that, and so he took his cap off for the movie, and that was way before he had his adult
Oh.
braces and stuff. But
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh.
but yeah, so yeah, it would be the Curtis brothers for me.
Those are good choices. I similarly, as for a friend, like a good friend, I would also choose Ponyboy. I think he'd be right up my alley. He's got like the poetry, the sensitivity thing. Like dating wise, I really am like kind of scared to say this, but like Dallas, I just love him. Like I don't think I ever would. I know this is just ridiculous. Whatever, we're just kind of saying this, but I gotta go with Dallas. I just love. I loved him. Like I just loved
Yeah,
him in that movie. Like even though I know I would never date someone like that, especially someone who could be so unhinged and kind
yeah.
of. But just
Why I would
I
have been
loved him.
shocked if you didn't say Dallas because I think you mentioned your Matt Dillon. So yeah, I would have been shocked if you didn't say Dallas.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean the bad boyness is attractive, but I know it wouldn't be a long term thing. So yeah, so that is our take on The Outsiders. Wonderful, wonderful.
Oh, there's a lot of people in this movie to choose from. So
For sure. Yeah, so let us know. Let us know what you think. Anything else, any other angles we didn't cover, or
mhm.
yeah, any suggestions for
Yeah.
future
Yeah,
episodes.
and we
We love
do
that.
realize that there's a lot of family dynamics in this. There's, abuse, grief, you know, friendship, but we
Nicola.
just
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't cover all of it, but I think we did try to do a lot, And, there are spoilers
You
from
haven't watched
19
this in
1980.
42 years, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, or if it gets you into watching it, go for it. But
Yeah, I hope
yeah,
so.
let us know, and we love to hear from you. Catch us on all the socials, including YouTube. We hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, let us know any questions, anything. Send us. We love to hear from you. We hope
Well,
you stay wicked and
keep your mind well. All right, everybody, have a great week, and we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
bye, guys.
Oh.